Welcome everyone, join us today as we delve into the life and legacy of Syd Barrett, the enigmatic founder of Pink Floyd. From his groundbreaking contributions to psychedelic rock to his tragic struggle with mental health, Barrett's story is one of brilliance and heartbreak. So let's dive in. Syd Barrett, born Roger Keith Barrett on the 6th of January 1946 in Cambridge, England. Born to a middle-class family, Syd was the fourth of 5 children, with siblings Alan, Don, Ruth, and Rosemary. His parents were Wyn and Arthur, the latter a prominent pathologist. Syd dabbled in piano but favored writing and drawing. At the age of 7 he won a piano duet competition with his sister Rosemary, and he was to be successful in poetry contests later while at high school. At age 10, he bought a ukulele, followed by a banjo at 11 and a Hofner acoustic guitar at 14. A year later, he acquired his first electric guitar and built his own amplifier. He was also a scout and became a patrol leader with the 7th Cambridge Troop. From age 11 to 16, Syd attended Cambridgeshire High School for Boys, known as the County. He was a natural mimic, entertaining friends with impersonations of famous people, including actor Sid James. Fellow scout Brian Boydell gave him the nickname Syd at age 12, which he later changed the spelling to SYD after seeing a bassist named Syd Barrett in a jazz band. This change was to avoid confusion with the bassist, but later in the 1970s, he would revert to his original name, Roger. On the 11th of December 1961, Syd's father died of cancer, just before Syd's 16th birthday. His diary entry that day read simply, "Dear Dad died today." The loss deeply affected him. 3 days later, he wrote to his girlfriend, Libby, saying, "I could write a book about his merits, perhaps I will sometime." With his siblings having left home, his mother took in lodgers and encouraged Syd's band, Jeff Mott and the Mottos, to perform at their house to help him cope with his grief. Childhood friend Roger Waters often attended these gigs and even organized a C&D benefit at Friends Meeting House on the 11th of March 1962. Soon after, the band broke up when Jeff Mott joined the Boston Crabs. In September 1962, Syd joined the Cambridge Technical College Art Department and met David Gilmour. Influenced by the Beatles during the winter of 1962–63, he started playing their songs at parties. By 1963, Syd was a Rolling Stones fan and saw them perform with his girlfriend Libby Goursden. He began writing songs around this time, including Effervescing Elephant. Syd and Gilmour occasionally played acoustic gigs together. In 1963, he played bass with band Those Without, and later with the Holland Blues. After seeing Bob Dylan in 1964, Syd wrote song Bob Dylan Blues. He then decided to study painting at Camberwell College of Arts in London, enrolling in summer 1964. Starting in 1964, the band that would become Pink Floyd underwent several name changes, including the Abdabs and the Screaming Abdabs. In 1965, Syd joined them as the T-Set. To avoid confusion with another band of the same name, Syd renamed them the Pink Floyd Sound. That year, they recorded in a studio for the first time when a friend of Richard Wright's gave the band free time to record. During this summer, Syd had his first LSD trip. The band's continual drug use led them to explore Sant Mat, a Sikh sect, but Syd was too young to join. Upset by this rejection, he began writing more songs, including Bike. By 1966, Pink Floyd shifted from playing American R&B covers to creating their own style of improvised rock. After Bob Close left, the band's direction changed, with more guitar and keyboard improvisation. Mason noted that many ideas came from Syd at this time. Syd was reading works like Grimm's fairy tales and Tolkien's books, and he wrote most of the band's first album and future solo songs. In 1966, the UFO Club in London became a hub for British psychedelic music, with Pink Floyd as the popular house band, making them a leading group in the London underground scene. By late 1966, Pink Floyd had reliable management with Andrew King and Peter Jenner, who set up Black Hill Enterprises to manage the group's finances. They booked a demo session in October, where Syd emerged as the main songwriter. King and Jenner befriended UFO Club promoter Joe Boyd and hired booking agent Brian Morrison, leading to gigs outside London. In November, the band performed at Hornsey College of Art and the Free School, followed by the Psychedelia vs. Ian Smith event at the Roundhouse in December and an Oxfam benefit at the Albert Hall. In early 1967, Syd was dating Jenny Spires, who had an affair with Peter Whitehead. Spires convinced Whitehead to feature Pink Floyd in his film about swinging London. In January, for £80, Whitehead took the band to Sound Techniques in Chelsea with promoter Joe Boyd. They recorded a 16-minute Interstellar Overdrive and Nick's Boogie, which Whitehead filmed for Tonight Let's All Make Love in London. Whitehead later said the band was completely welded together, just like a jazz group. Boyd tried to sign Pink Floyd with Polydor Records, but Morrison convinced King and Jenner to spark a bidding war with EMI. In late January, Boyd produced another session at Sound Techniques. After the bidding war, Pink Floyd signed with EMI, securing an album and unlimited studio time in exchange for a smaller royalty percentage. The band attempted to re-record Arnold Layne, but released Boyd's January version instead. Pink Floyd's debut album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, was recorded from February to July 1967 at Abbey Road Studios, produced by Norman Smith. While the Beatles worked on Lovely Rita in Studio 2, Pink Floyd was in Studio 3. Released on the 4th of August, the album reached number 6 on the UK charts, with Arnold Layne, released on the 11th of March, hitting number 20, and See Emily Play peaked at number 6. Syd wrote their first 3 singles and was the main writer for the album, contributing to 10 of the 11 tracks. Through late 1967 and early 1968, Syd's behavior became increasingly erratic due to heavy LSD use and possible schizophrenia. Once joyful and extroverted, he became depressed, withdrawn, and experienced hallucinations, disorganized speech, memory lapses, mood swings, and catatonia. After a weekend disappearance, he returned changed, with a blank stare. He couldn't recognize old friends or know where he was, sometimes strumming one chord for an entire concert or not playing at all. On a tour, he slowly detuned his guitar during Interstellar Overdrive, which the audience enjoyed, unaware of the band's distress. During interviews and TV appearances, he often gave terse or mute responses. With surviving footage of Dick Clark's popular TV show American Bandstand supporting one such instance. He would also forget his guitar, damage equipment, and sometimes couldn't hold his pick. Before a late 1967 performance, Syd reportedly crushed tranquilizer tablets and an entire tube of brow cream into his hair, which melted down his face under the heat of the stage lighting, making him look like a gutted candle. Although Nick Mason disputed part of this story, saying Syd wouldn't waste tranquilizers. During their UK tour with Jimi Hendrix in November 1967, David Ohlist from the Nice substituted for Syd several times. Around Christmas, David Gilmour joined the band to cover for Syd, aiming for a 5-member lineup. For a few shows, Gilmour played while Syd wandered on stage, occasionally joining in. Tired of Syd's behavior, the band decided not to pick him up for a show on the 26th of January 1968, effectively leaving him out. Initially, they planned to keep him as a non-touring member, but this proved impractical, and Gilmour became a full-time member. Roger Waters recalled Syd bringing a new song called Have You Got It Yet to what would be their last practice session. Initially simple, Syd kept changing the arrangement as they practiced, making it impossible to learn. He would then sing Have You Got It Yet? Highlighting his idiosyncratic humor, with Waters calling it a real act of mad genius. After album A Saucerful of Secrets in 1968, Syd stopped contributing to Pink Floyd. Only Jug Band Blues from his post-Piper work made it to the second album. Apples and Oranges was a failed single, and Scream Thy Last Scream and Vegetable Man were never released. The band felt guilty about ousting Syd and struggled to tell him directly. Rick Wright, who lived with Syd, would leave for gigs while Syd waited for him, sometimes in the same spot with a cigarette burned completely down between his fingers. Syd occasionally showed up at gigs and played slide guitar on Remember a Day, and set the controls for The Heart of the Sun. On the 6th of April 1968, the band officially announced Syd's departure and ended their contract with Black Hill Enterprises, which stayed with Syd. After leaving Pink Floyd, Syd was out of the public eye for a year. In 1969, EMI and Harvest Records urged him to start a solo career. He released 2 albums, The Madcap Laughs and Barrett, both in 1970, and the single Octopus. Some songs, like Terrapin, Maisie, and Bob Dylan Blues, showed his early blues influence. In April 1969, Syd began recording sessions at EMI Studios with Jones producing. He enlisted friends Jerry Shirley and Willie Wilson for help, while Gilmour played bass. Barrett's erratic behavior made communication challenging, with Jones noting they often played a beat behind to follow him. Some tracks featured overdubs by Soft Machine members. Syd also played guitar on Kevin Ayers' debut LP Joy of a Toy, but his contribution wasn't released until 2003. During this period, Syd famously tried to follow Pink Floyd to Ibiza, eventually being seen on a beach with disheveled clothes and a bag of money. After 2 sessions with Gilmour and Waters, they reworked one track and recorded 3 new ones. Recording slowed when they mixed Umaguma, but they completed 3 more tracks by late July. The recordings done live in the studio include false starts and Syd's commentary. Although a more polished version of Opal was available, it was left off the Madcap Laughs. When the album came out in January 1970, Malcolm Jones was shocked by the poor quality of the Gilmour and Waters produced tracks, feeling it was unnecessarily harsh. Gilmour admitted they might have tried to show Syd's true state or even punish him, while Waters called Syd a genius. Syd himself commented, "It's quite nice, but I'd be surprised if it had any impact if I were to drop dead. I don't think it would be my final statement." The second album, Barrett, was recorded between February and July 1970, with sessions sporadic. Produced by David Gilmour, it featured Gilmour on bass, Richard Wright on keyboards, and Jerry Shirley on drums. Initially, Syd was to play or sing to existing tracks, but Gilmour felt this lost the Barrett-ness. One track, Rats, was recorded with Syd alone and later overdubbed. Shirley noted Syd's playing was unpredictable but sometimes magical. Syd, often disoriented, would make unusual comments about the music. During this time, he also visited Pink Floyd while they worked on Atom Heart Mother. Between 1968 and 1972, Syd's musical activity outside the studio was minimal. On the 24th of February 1970, he appeared on John Peel's BBC show Top Gear, performing 5 songs, only one of which was previously released. 3 of these would later be re-recorded for Syd. The song Two of a Kind, performed that day, was possibly written by Richard Wright. Syd was joined by Gilmour and Shirley for this session. Gilmour and Shirley supported Syd at his only live concert during this period on the 6th of June 1970 at the Olympia Exhibition Hall. They performed 4 songs, Terrapin, Gigolo Aunt, Effervescing Elephant, and Octopus, with poor mixing making the vocals barely audible until the last song. Syd unexpectedly left the stage after the final number. The performance has been bootlegged. Syd's last BBC radio appearance was on the 16th of February 1971, recording 3 songs from the Barrett album. After this, he took a hiatus from music for over a year. In a December interview with Mick Rock and Rolling Stone, he discussed his frustration with finding good musicians and showed off his new 12-string guitar. In February 1972, Syd briefly played with the last-minute put-together boogie band, featuring ex-Pink Fairies member Twink and Jack Monk. They later formed a short-lived band called Stars. Despite early success in local gigs, their performance with the MC5 at the Corn Exchange was a disaster. Shortly after, Syd quit the band after seeing a negative review, though he did play one more gig at the same venue supporting Nectar. On the 9th of May 1972, Syd ended his EMI contract and severed ties with Pink Floyd, relinquishing any financial claims on future recordings. In October 1973, he attended a jazz and poetry performance by Pete Brown and Jack Bruce. Brown dedicated a poem to Syd, only for the guitarist at the show to deny being him. By the end of 1973, Syd had moved back to London, living in various hotels and settling at Chelsea Cloisters in December. He had minimal contact with others, visiting his management for royalties and occasionally seeing his sister Rosemary. In August 1974, Jenna persuaded Syd to return to Abbey Road Studios to record an album. Despite Syd's unchanged appearance, the sessions yielded disjointed blues tracks with tentative guitar overdubs. Syd recorded 11 tracks, including one titled If You Go Don't Be Slow. He then withdrew from the music industry for good, sold the rights to his solo albums, and moved into a London hotel. Attempts to involve him in record production, including offers from Jamie Reid for the Sex Pistols and the Damned, were unsuccessful. In 1978, Syd moved back to Cambridge to live with his mother after running out of money. He briefly returned to London in 1982 but came back to Cambridge permanently, walking the 50 miles there from London. Until his death, he received royalties from his Pink Floyd work, with Gilmour ensuring he got the money. In 1996, Syd was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Pink Floyd but did not attend. By 2005, Syd, who had reverted to his original name, Roger, lived in his late mother's home in Cambridge. He painted large abstract canvases, gardened, and maintained contact mainly with his sister Rosemary. He was reclusive and in poor health, suffering from stomach ulcers and type 2 diabetes. Despite Syd's reclusive life since the mid-1970s, interest in him remained high, with fans and reporters frequently visiting Cambridge. He was often photographed by paparazzi from the 1980s until his death in 2006. Syd disliked reminders of his musical career and had no direct contact with Pink Floyd members. However, he visited his sister in November 2001 to watch a documentary about himself, enjoying parts of it and reconnecting with old friends. In 2002, Syd made a rare public gesture by autographing 320 copies of Mick Rock's book Psychedelic Renegades, which featured photos of him. Rock, who had last interviewed Syd in 1971, was the only person from the music industry Syd maintained contact with. Syd signed the book simply as Barrett, having long since reverted to his birth name, Roger. Personally, Syd had relationships with several women, including Libby Gawsden, Lindsay Corner, Jenny Spires, and Evelyn Iggy Rose, featured on the back cover of the Madcap Laughs. He never married or had children, although he was briefly engaged to Gayla Pinion and considered moving to Oxford. Sadly, on the 7th of July 2006 at age 60, Syd Barrett died in Cambridge. He had been suffering from diabetes and pancreatic cancer. He was cremated, and his ashes were given to family members and close friends. After his passing, his Cambridge home was sold to a French couple who were unaware of its previous owner. In November 2006, Syd's belongings were auctioned for charity, raising £120,000. NME published a tribute issue in his honor, and his sister revealed he had written a book. Syd's estate, valued at approximately £1.7 million, was left to his siblings. A tribute concert in May 2007 and a series of events in October 2008 celebrated his life. A memorial bench in Cambridge's Botanic Gardens honors him, with plans for a more prominent tribute. And there you have it. From his groundbreaking contributions to his reclusive final years, Syd's impact endures. Though he withdrew from the public eye, his innovative spirit and music continue to inspire. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care and bye for now.